Welcome to the Diary of a Side Hustler podcast. I'm your host, Kayla Brooks. Let's get into today's episode. Whether pursuing a passion project or passive income, over 40% of Americans have a side hustle. The Diary of a Side Hustler shares the personal stories of small business owners who turned their passions into an opportunity for profit while balancing life, multiple jobs, and everything in between. Today, I am joined by Tony Adams. Tony is a former pro athlete, Super Bowl champion, and passionate entrepreneur with expertise in building and growing businesses. With years of experience in marketing, product design, and mentorship, he has helped companies generate over $1 million in revenue and now focuses on empowering athletes to build their own ventures. As the founder of Athletic Money U and the Old Network, Tony combines his love for business, personal development, and mentorship to inspire confidence and success in others. Driven by faith, family, and leadership, he aims to create impactful brands and help others achieve their dreams. Tony, welcome.
Thank you for having me. That was excellent. That was great.
Perfect. Well, I'm super excited for our conversation today. We are going to get into you, all your side hustles, your passion projects, all the things. Going to start off a little easy. When you were younger and someone asked you, what did you want to be when you grew up? What was your answer?
When I was younger, I knew I wanted to lead something, lead an organization, and then it crystallized into wanting to be a athletic director.
Talk to me about that, because I feel like athletic director is not something that you, like you said, crystallize or conceptualize
Right.
to when you're much older. So how did you get to like putting these pieces together? Like, what concepts did you know when you were younger that I was like, that's what I want to do?
I was playing a video game.
Okay.
And it was NCAA like 09, and then you can create a team.
And so this video game shaped
It really did.
what you want to be when you grow up.
Yeah, because when I was creating the team, I was having so much fun doing it. You can create the colors, you can create the logo, you can get the players, you can recruit the players, and then you play the season. It's really up to you at that point based off how you did in creating your team. The logo and stuff didn't really matter, but it looked cool. And then since then, I was this sense of like creating something, putting things together in an organization, and then now competing, reaching for a goal was something that I always had in my spirit. And to me, an athletic director was the closest thing to that, especially in sports. And it was just something where I could put on my, you know how you had to apply for schools? And then me, I knew I was playing football. Like Cordell Patterson said, we don't go there to play school. We go there to play football.
Because I know you're an athlete and you've played a variety of sports. So what is your earliest memory of like learning to play sports?
My earliest memory was when I was 2 years old. Actually, this is not a memory, but my mom can replay it in her head. So
Okay.
I guess I replay it in mine. But she put a tennis racket in my hand at 2.
At 2.
At 2. I don't know how good I was. I was probably trash. But I remember she told me that it was very natural for me. So that was my earliest telling of a memory. But then later on in my life, tennis was always something that I played early on and I loved. I loved. Other than that, probably just playing basketball with my friends. That's the only other memory that I have of sports.
Okay, cool. So did you take tennis seriously? Like,
Oh yeah, we took it real serious. And we were anomalies. We grew up in Boston, Massachusetts. And we did not look like Roger Federer. You know what I'm saying? Our whole family kind of was built like me. Bit like we, bear types. But
how tall are you?
I'm about 6'2".
Okay.
6'2", but I averaged, like when I was 11, 12, I was 280 pounds still on a tennis court.
Okay.
So it was just weird to see, but really fun to do. Uh, and I was good. Our family was good. My mom, she did her own world tour of tennis tournaments herself.
Oh, wow.
She fell in love with Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, Pete Sampras, Andre Agassi, and then she just poured it into us. So anytime she put us into a tennis lesson, tennis program, and actually the program was an all-black program up in Boston.
Okay, cool.
So
How
it was
long
really
did you
cool.
play? And why'd you stop?
I played for about 10 competitive years. Played USTA. And the only reason why I stopped is because I started to realize that I didn't look like those professional players.
Mhm.
But I knew that I could play something. People saw something in me. And honestly, my friends were playing football. And my school didn't allow me to play football at the time because I was too big or we didn't have a football program. So I couldn't play Pop Warner.
What do you mean you were too big?
Pop Warner is a weight limit.
Oh.
It's a weight limit, and I did not come
You was gonna
close.
be knocking kids over?
Yeah, I was. They was not trying to have that. It was a devastating day to me too because I cried because I couldn't play. I was
How
like
did you
8.
like? What did they say? How did they tell you?
They literally have a scale on tryouts, so
You can't do that anymore.
yeah, you
Like that
can't do
is
that
you
anymore.
can't.
My dad took me to the practice. It was right after tennis practice too. I remember it was like yesterday, and there was a full line. And the whole time I'm talking to my dad, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. I might not make it because I think the weight limit was like 140, and I know I was pushing like 250. But I was still hopeful, and I got to the scale, and 250 shows up and says, "Son, you won't be able to play." They could tell I was too young, or my size was too big for my age group. So that
Mm.
was devastating. But my friends next door played at a high school that didn't care about weight, and then I just assimilated into what they loved. And as soon as I had the first chance to play, I played.
Okay, were you any good? Like, did you have a little ramp up
No, I was
period?
trash when I first started. I think I had no cool. I didn't realize how much football I didn't watch.
Okay.
I watched tennis. They knew I was big. I was playing tennis, so they knew I was quick. So they just put me out there. But that was the start of something special. Honestly.
Talk about your mom.
Hmm.
I believe your father is a professional athlete as well.
Yeah, he was a two-time national champion wrestler. He wrestled at Iowa State with very prominent wrestlers and wrestling coaches. He wrestled with Dan Gable, big name in wrestling. And ever since then, he's been a coach, world champ, wrestler. Didn't do the professional WWE. I always wish he did, but he didn't.
That'd be a flex.
That'd be a flex. I'd be like, you see my dad here going crazy off the ropes. But uh, he just that was his professional career, was going world championship wrestling or just world Olympics and everything else like that. And he did well. But then he just fell in love with coaching.
Cool. And I want to say your dad has a business,
Hmm.
right? Tell me about like your dad, his business, and like what your involvement was when
Sure.
you were earlier.
He is the definition of a side hustler.
Your dad.
Yeah,
Okay, so you learned
fully.
it from at home.
Yes, like full on course. Now I didn't learn the the details until I was older, but he always found something to do besides what his career was. So
Give
him
us
be
an example.
he was a wrestling coach. Wrestling coaches don't make that much. I think his first job he was making about 20 grand a year.
Oh
Now
wow.
this is in 1970, but he still had 3 kids and he had a home and everything else like that. But he always found a way to leverage his expertise. So his leverage was in wrestling. He wrestled his whole life. And so he first did camps, learned that from his head coach on how to run a camp and how to do a camp, worked it first, realized that he can really help a lot of kids develop in wrestling. After that, he wrote a book. After that, he did videos on how to wrestle. And then he invented a machine in wrestling. So he really wanted to, not even knowing it, he wanted to build an ecosystem of his development on how to wrestle with all of his products that he put onto the market.
Okay, we're gonna come back to the
For
family
sure.
business,
Hmm.
but I want to go back to you played tennis. Now, you started playing basketball and then football, or were you playing basketball and football at the same time?
I was playing basketball and tennis majority. I didn't start playing football until I was 12.
Okay,
I was late, but I was hooping though.
it's 12 late to start playing a
12 was
sport.
late for a lot
Oh,
of kids.
okay.
You watch Netflix, they got Pop Warner shows, TV shows with like kids that are like 6 to 8 balling, going crazy. Crazy show, but 12 was late for someone who wants to play football and professionally.
Okay, so how did that happen? Like you're late to the game.
Mhm.
How do you get to college and you're like, hey, I want to do this?
I
Like,
started when I was 12, and the only reason why I could play was because uh,
because you were big.
I
No,
was
I'm
big.
joking.
No, you're right. That's exactly right. I mean, there was a school that you had to get into that I knew had a football program. That's the biggest reason why I took the test to get into the school. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to play until ninth grade. So I got into the school, was playing high school ball at about 13 or 13 years old, which is really young to play high school ball. Um, I didn't even really like it that much as I'm thinking about it again. I would miss practice. I was not a great. It wasn't a great start, but they noticed I started to get good my second year playing at that school, and my sister, she was in Charlotte, North Carolina, and that's when Independence was having its reign. Independence football was going 96-0, and my cousin was playing for him at the time.
Wow.
And I knew that the caliber of football was just a different breed down here. So when I turned about 15, I wasn't going to have the same opportunity playing where I was playing. So my mom, my dad, my sister all came together and said it's going to be better for Tony to move down here if he feels like he's going to be good.
So you moved to North Carolina just to play football?
Just to play football, like a Michael Orr kind of
Okay.
situation, but less white people.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
So nobody took you in, or who?
My sister did.
Okay, your sister took
She
you in.
adopted
So
me.
your sister is Sandra Bullock.
My sister's, yep, that's exactly, bro. Same type of fire too, like same type of intention.
Okay, and so then what happened when are you at Independence in
Yeah,
Charlotte?
Yep, I'm at Independence in Charlotte, and
What was your career like?
it was crazy. That's when I knew I was getting good, and so my first practice, I did one drill, and as soon as I did like the first rep of my first drill, that everybody just like marveled at what I did. I didn't even realize
What'd you
what I
do?
did.
Do you remember?
It was like it was like a reaction drill to one of the devices they had, and I reacted so fast. And I honestly, I guessed on the reaction, but I got it right, and everybody was like, "Whoa, whoa!" Like it was, they knew that they got somebody that could be very good. I wasn't molded yet. I didn't even go in the weight room that much, but they could see the skill.
Them tennis feet
That's
came in
exactly
handy.
right. Exactly right. I think that's the only reason, because hand-eye coordination with tennis and footwork has to be very on point. So it was just good for that drill, and then just turned into a in development there. They just poured into me in development, so it really helped.
Okay, cool. And so then when did you decide that you wanted to play ball in college?
I decided as soon as everybody told me that I could. That's when I really decided. People would say that I decided when I moved down to Charlotte, but I still didn't know how hard it was going to be. And it wasn't an easy journey still. It was still incredibly hard. And I was still very underlooked, very underlooked. I only had one scholarship offer coming out of high school.
And where was that scholarship?
North Carolina State University, baby. Go Pack. Go Pack 100%. They saw something in me that a lot of other schools didn't see, because even though I was quick, I wasn't fast. I was
What does that mean, to be quick and not fast?
short area. I can move in short areas at pretty good pace. But if you want me to go more than 10 yards, you're gonna have to give me a head start if you want me to win. You know what I mean? So um, that was something that held me back a little bit with coaches, because that's all they see. They want to see athletic ability and can we mold it. They knew they can mold me, but was my athletic ability at the level that they needed? They didn't know. But the more camps I went to, the more exposure I got. Went to an NC State camp. That's when they saw the potential, and they threw me an offer a couple days later after that camp.
Okay, what position were you playing?
Offensive line, big boys
Okay.
up front. All guts, no glory. Um, very humbling position.
How
People,
so?
you will get ridiculed if it's bad, and you will get very, especially when I was playing, you won't get a lot of recognition if it's good. Even though we do feel like we're a very, very impactful position on the sport.
Indeed. When did you get the idea of I want to play pro football?
The same concept of when I was in high school was when they told me I was good enough to do it.
Who told you? Do you remember who spoke that?
My
over
dad. Yeah, my dad spoke that life into me, and just finished my junior year. Had started a whole bunch of games. Was all conference player, and he started hearing buzz on the news, like whether it be Twitter or Facebook. He was just starting to hear buzz about how I was playing, and he was really proud. And I think what that turned into was potential. He was like, "Whoa, like there's another level to this.
You could do this.
How big do you want to go? You could do this."
Okay, so then how did it actually materialize? Of like someone said, "Hey, you can do this."
What do you want? You want to know what it should have looked like or what I did?
Give me both.
Okay, what it should have looked like. You should be now gearing your mind to be a professional and enhancing your skills. So the good thing was that I had a wonderful coach that knew how to do that. And he played in the NFL, so he gave us all the right tools. Now, the consistency after that is how you do it. Me, since I had so much success early, I thought it was just going to happen.
You was feeling
I
yourself.
was feeling myself. My head got real big. Pride is very dangerous. And so what pride can lead you to think, it can lead you to think that you could really do anything. It's like also like a sense of narcissism or really inflated ego. And so what that goes into is that I think that no matter what I do, I'll be successful. But that's not really the laws of, I'm going to say the universe. It's not what God really promotes. My actions, to answer your question, were not conducive to that. Instead of going to sleep early after a game, instead of making sure I ate well during the season, during the week, I did the opposite. I ate bad, went out to the club, the bars after games. I wasn't the only one.
Misery loves company.
You know what I'm saying? Like a little excuse, a little throw in there. But misery loved company. And but it was okay at first because I could do that, especially early on in my career. I could go out my sophomore year and be fun the next game. But then your body starts to wear on you. So you need to take care of your body even more the further you are in your career. And I wasn't doing that. I was in the same habits as if I was a freshman. I didn't turn into a professional. I kept the same habits and even got worse because I was thinking that those same habits, I can make it. I could probably do anything. It doesn't really matter and that's what happened.
Because I'm him.
I'm him, 100%. And people tell you him.
Yeah, Timothy. I think is what the kids say. Timothy.
And then it turned into themity. And then what left me, it turned into them. It turned into people in the conference that just I would assume made the right decisions. And people can do that. People in the league can do that. They can not treat their body well, but be elite performers. But that's a very select group. Those are the people that are going to go to the NFL regardless because of what they're born with. Me, I had that gap of decent athleticism. I told you I was slow. But then my work ethic closed the gap. So when that work ethic leaves, the gap gets wider, and then you don't play as well.
That's a gem. So what was the turning point for you of like, you was like, hey, I actually need to treat my body right?
My last game of the season, I had to have knee surgery. And then when I had knee surgery, I also had to get my wisdom teeth out. And I then had an infection from taking all the antibiotics. So, and then before that, wasn't taking care of my body. I was drinking. So my body was not in a healthy place. Internally, I didn't really care. Like, I could feel how I feel I was going to play. But then I started to really feel my body like shut down, like legitimately. And it was all the medicine, all the drinking, all the not so good stuff. Another reason was the anxiety of having the potential to go to the NFL and knowing that if a few things happen beyond my control, my life is going to change. And relying on things that weren't in my control made me heavily anxious. And then also recognizing the decisions I made because my film wasn't really a good resume at the last year. I had a really good 3 years. My last year did not help my resume. And also feeling a sense of self-doubt because of that. So there was two things that really messed up my spirit, which then affected my body. And that turned into a sickness that I couldn't even really, nobody could put their finger on.
Do you remember the moment,
Yeah.
The moment you saw the light?
Yeah. The revelation was everybody else is not telling me the right things. Nothing else is working. Google is making me feel bad. Where else can I turn to? And I turned to God. Went to Elevation Church, had an amazing experience. And what I could feel was, because you're at a low vibration at that point. You don't really feel anything. Like you're very, very vulnerable. You don't know if anybody, you don't know if you're sick, if you're going to make anybody else sick. That's how bad it was. But then when I was there, the first day I was there, I just felt my vibration of myself lift just a little bit. And that's all I needed. After that, I wanted to take a hold of that. And I knew in order to do that, I had to start reading scripture. So in that moment of depression, of anxiety, of like legitimate physical illness, I turned to God, read scripture like crazy, turned off all of my TVs, and I literally did a fast. That fast gave my life to Christ. And then all of a sudden, that was the light where everything changed.
All of a sudden.
All of a sudden, the next morning, I could run again. My spirit had been lifted. I felt free. I had lost a whole bunch of weight, but then I had my confidence back in myself. And then since then, it was just an ascension. It just got better and better every day. And what it allowed me to realize was that when I was at my highest, I didn't give credit. Credit was on me, not anybody else. Now, when I was low, I turned to only one thing, because you can go low and it can get lower. I turned to one thing, and what I realized is that I wasn't giving the right credit to the right person or the right entity. That credit had to go to God.
Amen.
Yeah.
As a man of faith, I have to ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
When you tell your story, the first thing that comes to my mind is the scripture in Matthew that says, "Seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you." And I'm a grammar nerd, so I'm going to nerd out for a second.
It's all good.
There's something in the parallel structure of that sentence where it says, "Seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added." Seek first is first. Like it says, seek God first, and then these things shall come. And so when I hear your story, I see the seek first. And so I want to know, like, has that transcended into other areas of your life where you're like, seek first, and have you seen similar results of I talk to God and suddenly or
Man, that is so beautiful. Since then, you could see what you didn't put God first in, and how it doesn't work. Or if it does work, it works for a little bit of time. It's that quick shot of dopamine, and then it just goes way down. So first and then has been applied to as many things as I can in my life. And the biggest thing, especially now recently, has been in the business. I go to our shop, and then I just many times just pray, just say, "Thank you, Father. Thank you, God. Thank you for blessing this place. May you bless and anoint this place."
Amen.
And then that's it. And I just show gratitude, and I ask for however you would like to bless it. And so the people that start to show up, the orders, and I want to start with the people because the people are the most important, but the orders that start to come in, you could just tell that it's blessed by God, because we don't do anything perfect. You know, we're a good company, we have a good product, but we're far from perfect. But you can tell that God is closing that gap to allow us to see more opportunity, to hire better people, to get great customers, and to really be a player in this market.
Love that. So you found God, you can run again. How did you get to the Super Bowl?
Oh yeah, that thing.
Yeah, that old thing.
Ended up running again. Had to train again. I had lost 40 pounds. I had to put on 40 pounds
You
back
could
on.
have made that first team. You know, you
Yeah.
could have lost 40 pounds. They would have let you play.
You
No,
feel me? I might have to change my position, bro. So I had to put the 40 pounds back on. But the Jacksonville Jaguars knew I was sick, knew I wasn't at a good place.
Is that who we were looking at?
That was my first team. The draft that came up, I still thought I was getting drafted. Didn't get drafted, and the Jacksonville Jaguars called me to be a free agent. Flew down there. They saw I was sick, and they cut me right then and there. And
What's a free agent for people who don't know?
Undrafted free agent is somebody that didn't get picked in the first 7 rounds, or the first 250 players that get picked out of college. Draft pick is either that you get guaranteed playing time if you're in the first 4 rounds, or if you're in the first 7 rounds, you get guaranteed money. Okay. After that, there's no guarantee. So I was that. I was an undrafted free agent. And shout out to my brother. He lives in California. He knew where I was at mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. He called me up and said, "Hey, come with me. This is what we'll be able to do. I will help you get back to who you were." And that's when we started getting better.
Okay.
And then they, after I put all the weight on, I came back to the Jacks. I still had to try out again. And in that tryout, they signed me.
Okay.
After that.
All right.
That's when I knew God was working. That's when I was like, God is here.
Okay, so how'd the season go?
The season went well. I was very, very happy to not miss a practice. And then I played every single snap in the last preseason game of my rookie year. But then I got cut. Was sent home again, and they call it be on the couch after you get cut. And after I got cut, I was on the couch for 16 weeks.
Okay. What do you remember about those 16 weeks?
Those 16 weeks, I just kept working. And then I was still trying to find jobs. I was cool if my career ended.
What did you think you wanted to do? Like, were you like, oh, I'm going to be an athletic director now for real?
Yeah. I actually wanted to be in sales.
Oh,
I wanted to sell wine.
Interesting.
I wanted to sell wine.
How did you, why wine?
It got to the point where I was just trying to find a job.
Okay.
I knew I could talk to people. I like people. And I like wine.
Okay, you like wine.
I like wine.
Okay.
And I went through the 3 rounds of interviews. It was an amazing experience.
For wine?
For wine. It's called E&J Gallo. They do distribution. Wine and alcoholic distribution. But it was good money. Okay. It was good money at the time.
Did you get the job?
I got the job. But as soon as I went to the 3rd round of interviews, my agent calls me. He says, hey, the New England Patriots want you to come up for a workout.
Wait, okay, so you were about to be selling liquor.
Yep.
And then someone calls and says, hey, do you want to play for the Patriots?
Yep. And this is my world, this is my favorite team ever. But yes.
How'd you weigh your options? Wine was pretty, enticing.
It was. It really was. I actually told my agent, I was like, could it wait? You know what I'm saying? I was like, I'm about to get this job. And this is my world favorite team, but I was done. I was okay with what had happened, that I didn't even care if I was playing football.
Assuming you said yes.
Yeah, I said yes.
For the Patriots. Okay.
I pulled up, killed the workout because I was still training. You could tell when they're about to cut you. You can also tell when you might be signed, when you're feeling me. So I was the only one there. That's how I knew. I was like, they might be feeling your boy. Let's see you know what I'm saying? Even if I start cramping, I'm still gonna try to finish and I meet Bill Belichick, say hey to him. He says, how you doing? Bill Belichick was the head coach for the New England Patriots, Hall of Fame coach, 6, 7-time Super Bowl winning coach, and my favorite coach ever. You know what I'm saying? Also, just to kind of throw that in, they bring me in and they say, we're going to sign you. And I'm like, okay, cool.
I'm holding back all my emotion.
I'm going to act like I've been there before, even though I've never been in the place to where I knew I was capable of doing it, but to really sign a contract to say, you're on the team was really that's when my life changed. When I really knew I was on a team is when Bill Belichick was up in a team meeting talking to the guys and saying, hey, this is who we cut. Boom, boom. But this is who we signed. And they were like, we signed da-da-da and Tony Adams. And me, it's my first time in this situation, just marveling at it. But he said my name and then I was on the team.
Wow.
That's when I knew it was real.
Okay, so what was it like playing for the Patriots?
Tom Brady was one of the first people that introduced himself to me.
Okay.
And that told me what kind of leader he was. You know, NFL, everything's paid for. You don't have to worry about nothing. But then they don't pay for everybody's housing. They actually paid for my housing until the rest of the season. And it was at a nice hotel 2 minutes away from the stadium. And those type of things that happen, you know that God is intentful to say you don't have to worry about anything.
I'll provide.
I will provide.
I'll provide for my promise.
That's exactly right. That's exactly how I felt.
I love that. Okay, so you go to the Super Bowl.
Yes. I am a undefeated Patriot, New England Patriot. Ever since that loss to Miami, we won every single game going up to the Super Bowl.
Okay. Yeah. All right. What year was this?
2018.
Okay.
2018, 2019. And then we played the LA Rams in Atlanta.
You have a Super Bowl ring?
I have a Super Bowl ring.
Oh,
should I bring that to a podcast?
You should have worn it. That's a flex.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a flex. Yeah. Okay, cool. So you win the Super Bowl. Then what happens?
Win the Super Bowl. We come back for the parade. And then after that, they cut me. They cut me.
You're an undefeated New England Patriot, and they cut you?
Yep, they cut me. Yeah,
wow. Why?
I don't know. I don't know why.
Okay. To this day,
They don't tell you, but they tell
They just
you.
say you gotta go.
Yeah, they. Bill Belichick told me to. He cut me personally, which is cool. It's my first time having that
Yeah,
too.
I mean, if I'm gonna get cut by anything, I take it from you or Tom.
You feel me?
Like,
Tom, yeah, for sure. If Tom cut me, be like, yeah, for sure, yeah, all right, bro, yeah, it's cool. You know what I
much
mean?
love.
Much love. You know what I'm saying? Hit me. But they just tell you stay ready. After that, I'm a journeyman now. I go through different leagues. I go to different teams. I go down to Miami, play for Miami for a little bit, but just I don't make the team. I just make the teams that are amateur teams, which is cool. It's a great experience. A lot of my best friends have been met there, but that was the end. That was the start of the end of my football career.
Okay. Were you like, I'm gonna go back be an athletic director? I'm gonna go back sell wine?
Right.
Like, what was going through your head at this point? Like,
Yeah.
okay, I may not play professionally.
I was doing amateur, and that's when COVID hit. And when COVID hit, I could tell that it's not in your control anymore. Nothing is in your control anymore. And I had been so done with football because of starting as a true freshman and playing the most snaps. It's wearing physically and mentally, and also where it's head to head collision on all of those snaps. I think the linemen probably get the most head to head contact out of every position because it's just a part of their role on the team. So I didn't want to play anymore. I was good after COVID hit. I was happy that I was.
I have an excuse
Yeah, you feel me?
to bow out gracefully.
It was the best excuse because nobody could. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody had to go home. So
I'm not comfortable. No,
yeah,
I don't want to play.
I don't play. I'm good. But to me, it just started like a new beginning. It started like a new opportunity. I knew that in the back of my mind, my dad had his business, and if anything, that's someone that's someone I can do. And then that's what happened.
Did you, before this moment, had you ever considered like, oh, I'll go into the family business?
Yes, I was starting to do social media for my dad, especially
Okay.
the time I was sick. That was something that kind of made me a little happier, maybe.
Okay. Did he ask you, or did you volunteer to do social
I
media?
volunteered.
Okay.
There's something to do. That's how like down I was. I wasn't doing anything. And that was the only thing I felt like I could that had purpose in it, and I could help. And it wasn't a lot of commitment. I could leave. You know, it's my dad's business, so
Yeah.
I can leave whenever.
That's what's up. So my father is also an entrepreneur.
Very
He had
cool.
a side hustle. And looking back, I don't know if I would have articulated the words entrepreneur when I saw my father work his 9 to 5 and then also have a catering business. I didn't know what entrepreneurship was. Like, I knew it conceptually. And so, what do you remember about being like younger, and what did you think of seeing your father do all these different things? Like, what was your perception of him and what was going on?
I didn't know this. I didn't know the scale of how important it was for him to be in that role, and also how rare it was to be successful back then. Like you couldn't market the way that you market today.
Social media was not
It
popping.
was not popping. The internet wasn't even popping. He had to send in magazines, brochures to people all across the globe, all really in America, but in the world too. So
Look at the yellow pages, all
exactly,
of that,
he
all of
had to
that.
do all of that. And I'm just thinking about that amount of effort just to market your product was just so much harder back then because right now it's a click of a button.
In like your early life, did you ever help out with any of his
Uh,
business kind of things?
the first time I helped out was he hired me as one of his guys to build the machines. He's the machine that he came up with wrestling and what we sell today. He still builds with his hands, and
Okay.
he's been doing that for the past 25 years.
Okay. Tell us what the mission like. Explain it a little bit.
Sure, it's an apparatus. It's or just a wrestling dummy. We call it a wrestling dummy that we can you can post up on the wall. It's made with iron, steel, spring, welded together. Some of the strongest spring known to, well not known to man, but just something that's very very durable. Can last you 10 to 15 years, and it's a good feel to it as well. To actually feeling like another wrestler that you're going
Like a
with,
humans on
like
the
a human. Yeah, and
Interesting.
he's been building those for the past 20 years, and it's helped thousands and thousands of wrestlers, probably closer to the 50 thousands of wrestlers like that have legitimately grew up on his devices from the 19 from when he first developed it in 1974 to today.
How old were you when you started helping him build those?
Wow, I was like 10 years old.
Wow.
I was
Okay,
10.
you were 10 years old,
Yep.
and like, did you all build them at home in the
Yep. He
garage?
had a little shop. I think the shop was about this size, and then just reference like
Like
what?
what, 200
Yeah,
square feet, if
just
that?
like the and probably like just a hallway of 200 feet,
Okay.
and
Where
yeah,
was the shop?
it was in Boston, Massachusetts,
Okay.
right next to a Burger King. That's where I would get all my do all my breaks. I would spend a little more time at the Burger King than he would like, but it was uh it was hard work. It was very labor intensive. Like, you had to, for me, I was doing something that was a lot more conducive to me, and I was just going to help out my dad, just help out pops. And he was doing a lot of like the cutting the iron, bending the iron, putting it together, covering the machines with foam. And I was the person that was just tagging along, seeing what he was doing, and then realizing like this is pretty cool. But also this is kind of crazy. I was thinking of that too. I was like, bro, what is going
Like,
on?
you're literally watching your father play with fire.
Exactly. So me being his son, like if he's a blacksmith, if he's someone that is a leader in this way, what way can I take on the torch? I didn't start to think about that until after I was done with my career.
Okay, so you're tired of playing football.
Yeah.
Did you approach your dad and was like, "Hey, Dad, I want to join the family
Yep.
business," or did he approach you? How did that work?
I approached him. I was like, Dad, you hiring me, and this is how much I want. Very entitled at the point, but I knew that I could contribute, and I knew he needed help. So that
Okay.
was my leverage.
What made you feel like he needed help?
He's a man that is very okay with doing everything himself.
Most entrepreneurs do have that similar spirit.
Yes. A very tight grip.
Yeah, because it's their baby.
Yeah, it's their baby. And he's the founder. And it's his baby.
Okay, so you said, "Hey, Dad, hire me, and this is how much I'm worth." What did he say?
Okay.
Really?
Yeah, he probably bit his tongue. Or he was probably like just grinding his teeth. But it ended up working.
So what did you do? What was your first job with the company? Did you ask him to hire you for social media? Or you were like, "Actually, I want to take over the welding"?
He was the welding. He was the welder. And he was only having like 5 sales a month, maybe 5 to 10 sales a month. I was just going to help him with making sure the machines were built.
Okay.
So anything that had to do with covering, cutting, packaging, sending it out, I was helping him with that.
Okay.
And then it got to the point where that wasn't my thing. I knew that wasn't like
What wasn't your thing? The cutting?
any of that. Any of that. It was an environment I wasn't used to because it was just me and him in there. I love my father to death, but I'm used to being around people. I'm a chit chatter. I'll talk to you for a minute. So that's something that wasn't me. But then I knew, what could I do? How could I fit in my lane? And I was like, marketing. That's exactly what marketing is. And he was only having like 5 sales a month, maybe 5 to 10 sales a month. But they're high ticket products. So pretty
How
good
much are
turnout.
they?
1,500 is our average order
Okay.
size. So it's a pretty good, nice little revenue. He retired from coaching, and then this is something that he really confided. Like, he loved making them. Like, it's like a craftsman
Okay.
making a sword. And we were at 5 to 10 sales a month, 100 to 160,000 in revenue a year, and that's just revenue. That's just top line. But then when marketing took over, social media took over.
So that's you. You came in.
Went right into that lane, and all of a sudden we doubled in revenue.
Wow.
Then we doubled again. So right now we're averaging about 450K top line.
Okay. So what exactly did you do for the marketing? But that was so like revolutionary that y'all are now doubling revenue. Well,
Yeah.
tripling now.
We did 2 things. The first thing is that we did online Facebook advertising.
Okay.
So we would post different videos of just people using the equipment, but then we mashed together about 3 or 4 of them. Sometimes it was just one kid using the equipment. But if you put money behind a popular vehicle, like if the videos that we were promoting just organically were doing well, you put money behind that, it can now reach more people. Facebook wants to be able to do that. They control the algorithm, and that's how ads can get you spaces into spaces you would have never been before because Facebook owns it. Just who sees it. And so we started putting money behind that, but then it started to become a strategy in how we do it. And so you got to hit the right people. You can't just do an ad to a certain place. You got to put an ad to your avatar.
I understand, but if someone's not in marketing or like user experience, they may not understand what you mean by. They think the avatar is like the little thing you create.
Yeah,
So, what do you
yeah.
mean by when you say that speaks to our avatar?
If you were to solve a problem in creating something, whose problem would you solve? So if I'm solving, let's say if you're, I'll do it for my community, especially for people who want to coach or train. If you know the problem is that a player is not starting, or if you know that your expertise and the problem is that players aren't playing well when you see football, your solution is I'm going to teach them how to properly play this position. So who is that person that you want to properly train? If you're a defensive back, someone who's in the backfield, knows how to cover coverages, who can I teach that is going to benefit from this the most? And that's going to be a middle school or high school kid. That's your avatar.
How did you learn? Because I don't think I asked, what did you study in college?
I studied sport management.
You studied sports management. So learning about like marketing concepts, your avatar, that's more of a, we're now getting into the business, like technical business concept. So how did you actually figure out the concept of learning? We need to identify our avatar, our target market, all those things.
I started learning when I realized I didn't know anything. I had no clue. And then I think the biggest thing in order to be successful or just to learn something is curiosity. And I've always felt like like when I'm doing something, I want to do it right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do it. If I do it half-assed, at least I tried as hard as I could to figure it out. It's really complex because you got to know the platforms and you got to know how to navigate where to do it. And then the information is there for you. You just got to find the right information that's going to help your business.
Walk me through it. What did that look like for you? Paint the picture for me.
Sure.
I'm a visual learner, so
The first thing I invested in was a marketing book, and it was the person who actually founded Guerrilla Marketing. Okay. He's from Australia. Had no clue what marketing was, and then I really didn't know what marketing really was until about 2 years ago, really. But that was the start. I saw him have an ad on Facebook. He knew that we were running ads on our Facebook. Went ahead and invested into it. Got the book, started reading it, and this is during COVID, so I had a whole bunch of time to just study. I studied it and wrote down notes, highlighted it, and then that was the start of the process of learning how to do this whole new thing in my life because nothing's like it. Nothing that I was doing was like it.
So what I want to ask, like from a family perspective, is it just you and your dad?
It's the whole fam.
The whole, like, who's that? How many people are we talking?
It's my father, it's me, my sister, and my mother. He's the product. He's product development, whether that be his expertise, whether that be his artistry or his writing ability or his inventions.
Okay.
And my sister is just the developer. She's like somebody who kind of fills in the gaps for a lot of things that we do. She was the first one that was doing promotion of the website and everything.
Okay. So she's more technical.
She's more technical. She's very more technical, yes.
Okay.
And then my mom's the accountant.
Okay.
Which is like every family business.
Okay. Yeah. My mom was also, she kept the books for my dad when he did a cater. So I know how that works.
You feel me?
And because I know how that works, there is a lot of stigma around family business of like what goes on.
Yeah.
I will ask, what's it like doing a business with family?
Ooh. Emotional.
Talk to me. What does that mean?
The stigma of family business is that it doesn't work. And if I were to put a couple points to it, why it doesn't work is because first is entitlement. Second is lack of accountability. And then the third one is a lack of structure. Yeah, lack of structure is huge. Because if you don't know your role,
I'm gonna stop commenting.
No, this is good. No, this is. I feel like I'm cooking. I feel like I'm
yeah.
But if you don't know your role, you don't know your place, and therefore it's a free game.
I want to go through each of these. Talk to me about what your experience in the family business with entitlement looks like.
Yeah, it's thinking that it's all yours.
Tell me a story. Like, what happened?
Like me going to my dad and said, "This is what you're going to pay me." That's a huge sense of entitlement. What right do I have to say that? None. He's the one who created the business. He's the one who's making it day by day. He's the one who's putting all the work in. He's the one who took all the risk. What do I have to present that? Now, I can present my case on how to help him. And that's maybe what I've done, but then it should be a negotiation after that point. It shouldn't be a demand. You know, it shouldn't be that. That's a sense of entitlement.
Okay.
That was something that I've been wrestling with for a while because I know what I could do. Because of my willingness, because of my curiosity to do better, or my curiosity and my willingness to do better and be the best, I know how I can impact anything I can go into. So in veiled, it was confidence, but really it was just entitlement.
Okay. Let's talk about accountability.
Yeah.
I can say I've done business with friends, and some of them really well. I have a friend that I do business with. Like, we still like 10 toes. But I think the challenge of doing business with friends or family is that sometimes I have to make a business decision that does not benefit you, and it's not personal. But as my friend or as my family member, you should consider me because we're friends. Is there a situation where you feel like someone in the family made a business decision that did not consider you as who you were as friend or family?
Yes. And that is the most emotional part. It's like,
Can you tell us? Can you spill the
sure,
tea?
yeah, I spill the tea.
Can you spill the tea?
My father was actually looking at selling the company last year, and it felt like he didn't want me involved in the process, so that hurt a lot. But it wasn't the case because he was doing it because he felt like it was the better decision for the family.
Do you know his rationale of how he got to that?
He knows how hard it is to run that business. Yeah. And he didn't want to put that on his kids. He didn't know if his kids would want to do it either. There was no clear communication. That's another big pillar of family businesses and why they kind of tear apart or they have a hard time working. It wasn't communicated properly on where everybody stood and whether they wanted it or didn't want it.
And he assumed that it was So what did you do? What did you say?
I said, Dad, this is yours. You can do whatever you want. But let me help you. I want to help you in this process. Before you look to sell it, let's make it the most sellable it could be. So, and this is a big thing in Black family businesses, is that along with the structure, nothing is written down. Like there is no process.
You know, and I know, like,
and it's tough. You can't sell that, and you could see it though. You could see the product in place, but there has to be systems and operations, and then also the ability to delegate to other people for a person to be interested in buying it.
Yeah.
And you could still buy that. You could still buy the rights to a company to do that, but then it's not as valuable. Yeah. You can't sell it for as much as if you were to have all those in place. So I was like, let me just help you. And then if I can prove something to you here, maybe your thoughts can change about it.
Okay.
It worked.
Let's talk about accountability. I know sometimes accountability is tough when dealing with friends or family business because at work, like this is purely work. I don't know y'all from Tom, Dick, or Harry, other than the fact that you were my coworker. You didn't do your job. I can say, hey, like, where is XYZ? You said it was going to be done by this day. Me telling my mama, like, hey, you were supposed to have that done yesterday. Like, what happened? How does that work? Have you told your mom? Have you told your mom? We need the financial reports.
Man, this is so, we're still having struggles with it.
That's fair.
We're still having struggles. And I wouldn't call it struggles. I would just say that we're still trying to figure the best way out to do it.
That's fair.
One thing I love about my father, though, is the amount of grace he gives you. And that's what I'm learning a lot from him. Because at the end of the day, it's all good. This is still a privilege rather than a need, a necessity, or whatever. This is a privilege that we get to run a business. It's a privilege. Together. Now, that can get you so far. The next step is now like really putting things into action and like having roles and having accountability. And so, um, the best the best part of this learning process is how to mix it because it can be done. Sam Waltman's is the founder of Walmart. It's a family-run business. Um, Family businesses are very popular across the world, but just not in the United States of America. And that's because the United States is really big on individuality. Just I want my own spot. I want my own thing. It's a very common thing within America, which is fine. You can still do that. Learning how to communicate properly is going to be one of your uh, biggest investments in yourself.
Times 10 if I gotta tell my mom
Mm-hmm.
or my partner.
That's right, because you got to walk a thin line, boy.
Mm-hmm.
That's your mama,
Yeah.
and that's your dad.
Yeah.
You can't talk to
That's
them.
your husband. That's your wife.
That's
like,
right.
like, listen.
Yeah.
I know I missed a number, but watch your mouth.
That's right. That's right. So you
watch your mouth.
You are and I'd be like, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. But that is, if you could do that and then still communicate why this needs to be done, like why we need to do this in a timely manner. If you can communicate that, that is very beneficial to you and your company. It just allows you to stay efficient, to stay effective. Now, you got to play with it though. It's cool because you still understand that person the most ever. Like I know my mom very, very well. I know my dad very, very well. So people would think that if you know them, you could probably communicate better, but it could also go like since you know them so well.
There's precedence.
Yes, there's precedence. You can also communicate to where it's not conducive for what the goal is.
Yeah, because it's like I said this to you in this moment, and now you're talking about something I did when I was 12.
The biggest thing is the goal.
Yeah.
If we understand what the goal is together, or if I understand what my goal is, that will help me navigate the conversation in a better way.
So I want to ask you this because I feel like in today's age, there's a lot of conversation about generational wealth.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of conversation about like establishing more for just you and yourself. What does it look like to bring your family into it? And I think there are ways of like, okay, you could set your family up for success to like, okay, they get some of the money. But when we see things like Beyonce, like Blue is now in Mufasa. Blue has been on tracks with Beyonce since she was like an infant. And now you get royalty. Like you have been brought into the business. And so I think there's something to be said. And I would love to hear your take on what does it look like to establish generational wealth, but to also have everyone actually like get their hands dirty versus just leaving them something.
That is the point of working so hard so that you can give up opportunities to other people. That's the whole point. In my opinion, leverage is king. And so if you own something, you have the utmost amount of leverage. And so that means that you can hire anybody that you want. You can put anybody in the roles that you want to do. The network that you built, you can now put people on that you love dearly. And then I think this is where you're going. And this is a beautiful point that you're making is more of if you just give it to them, that's when the entitlement gets the worst. If you just give these people certain things, that's when they don't feel the actual value of that dollar of that or that opportunity. The more effort that they put in these things, the more gratitude they'll have, and then also the more like they feel like they've actually done something. That's what my father's done. Like he's just given him, like he doesn't tell me how to do anything. He just says, go ahead and do it. And that kind of autonomy to go ahead and do it puts a lot of self-value for me that I did it and it worked. It helped. So I can just see that for Beyonce doing that for her daughter, she still has to have some level of talent. She still has to develop into that
she's performing.
role.
She performed at the info game halftime.
Yeah. And that's not easy.
Yeah.
Like, think about performing in front of millions of people.
Yeah. And everyone's looking at you.
Exactly. You've earned it, though. You had to put in the work. I mean, obviously, you had more leverage if Beyonce wasn't her mom, but that's why Beyonce worked so hard.
Yeah. You still have to train. Like, you still have to make it to practice.
Absolutely. 100%.
You still got to get the steps.
Yep. And then you'll embarrass your family if you don't train. You embarrass them.
Because you're going to be on the front row regardless.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So now I want to shift gears a little bit because you are a side hustler.
Mm-hmm.
You have two businesses of your own that you also run, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about, let's start with Athletic Money U.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that one.
Absolutely. Athletic Money U is an online resource for any athlete that loves the idea of entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And so what we provide is just information on how to do it. That's the first part of it. That's something that's also still launching. A lot of the efforts have been in my father's company and growing Adams Athletics and A&W Wrestling. Um, but the reason why I stopped chasing football was because I saw that my father uh, built something, but also had autonomy in anything that he did. Didn't rely on external.
Okay.
Didn't rely on things that was out of his control. Didn't have to get cut. He would cut himself if he failed. So Athletic Money U, that's the essence of what we provide is information on how to build your own
Okay.
through business. The first thing that we'll provide, if you would like to work with us, is that we'll build you a website and build you an email newsletter.
Okay.
And so if you have a following, if you're doing NIL work, or if you
What's NIL?
Name, image, and likeness,
Okay.
this is also playing into what athletes are being able to provide. They have eyeballs on them. They have attention. They have an audience.
Okay.
Many people rely on companies and organizations to pay them to continue to nurture their audience, right? But instead, why don't you pay yourself because of the audience that you built? Athletic Money U can help you do that.
What was the moment that made you want to start this? And how long has it been existing?
Oh, we're about to go in some more tea. So there was a time where I wanted to coach football.
Okay.
So the time where I was helping my dad was the side hustle.
Okay.
Just nurturing the business. That's probably why he felt like he didn't really need to have me a part of the selling negotiations. So I understand because I was coaching. But while I was coaching, this is after COVID, and you know how everybody was vying for getting a vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not opposed to the vaccine and the principles of it, but I had a huge run-in with a lot of medicine that really affected my life. And so I told my coach, I figured out, that through holistic medicine and through faith, I'm gonna want to not take this shot. You know what I'm saying? Because it's already affected me, and I've already God has showed me how to heal. So I would rather rely on God than pharma and medicine because they've already affected me before. You call it trust issues. You call it whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? I have those, and they weren't having that. They actually gave me an ultimatum.
Okay.
They said, you have to get it or you won't be able to be a part of the building, a part of the staff. And then anytime you work, you got to work from home and then you got to come in at night.
Okay. And where were you coaching at the time?
I was coaching at NC State.
Okay.
D1 ball, my alma mater.
Okay.
And they gave me the ultimatum, but it wasn't them. The real people who gave every university, every organization the ultimatum to take the vaccine or push them in that corner was the NCAA. Mm-hmm. The NCAA forced it. If 80% of your team was not vaccinated, you had to get COVID test. And my coach is all about efficiency.
Yeah.
If you have to get COVID tested, that takes away from your practice time. That takes away from your film time. And then if you have COVID, that means you can't play. So you're going to get this shot. Mm-hmm. You weren't going to tell me how to take the shot.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because my dad had autonomy. He could choose. He could choose because he was growing something that he built. And so I knew that it was something I can always go back to, but as well as this business was successful too. I'm doing this because I'm thinking that this is my passion or thinking that this is what I've done my whole life. I can coach. But at the same time, it was the third time where things out of my control happened, trying to pursue something I thought I loved. First one was a draft, didn't get drafted, then got cut. Second one was COVID, ended my whole football career. Third one was the COVID vaccine. Since I didn't want to take it, they told me I couldn't coach. So I'm like, but the reason why I said okay is because I still got a business at home. I still got a side hustle that even if I pour more energy in this side hustle, I'll be more successful than any coach.
And the side hustle is in your dad's business.
Yep.
Okay.
So I just loved autonomy. I love freedom. I love not being. I still like a schedule. I still like a community. I still like people around me. I still like building. But then I don't like being put in the corner, given an ultimatum of making a choice. And so that's how Athletic Money spawned. You already have the audience, since you already have the fans, since you already have done a lot of the work, why don't you have the opportunity to build something for yourself? That's what my dad did. And he didn't have a big audience. Yeah. He was making $17,000 a year as a wrestler. He had to do it, but he could. And we never felt poor. We never felt broke because of all of his side hustles, for sure.
Okay. And so that's when you were like, I'm going to start Athletic Money U.
That's when, I started Athletic Money U.
How'd you come up with the name?
You don't want your money to be on the bench. You don't want it to be just sitting in your bank account, chilling, you know what I'm saying? Not contributing to the economy. You want your money to be jumping out the gym. So people who are athletic can jump out the gym. LeBron James, you know all them people. So that was the first idea of it, is that you've already built your brand. You've worked so hard in your athleticism. Why don't you make your money athletic? Why don't you have that jumping off the charts? So that could be investing, learning about money a little bit more in depth, and also building a business that is lucrative.
Okay, cool. And when did you launch that?
We launched that in 2023. Okay. We started a podcast in February 2023. Me and my boy Jamil Demby. And when my dad told me he was going to sell the business, I had to stop it. I had to put it on pause for a little bit, because that had to become the focus for me, my dad's business.
Okay, cool. And then you also have the OL network.
Yep.
Is it OL or the OL network?
OL. It's called
OL.
OL.
Okay.
I like it though, the old network. You feel me?
You know, like the old,
yeah.
like OL.
The old network. You feel me?
That old thing.
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
the OL network. Talk to me about that one. How long you been doing it? How'd you get into it?
Sure. Yeah, I started that in August of 2024. And the offensive line.
That's new.
Yeah, it's brand new.
Okay.
It's very new. And it's also a case study for Athletic Money. What I'm doing is the same thing my dad's doing, but just with a digital presence that he didn't have before. Promoting online resources, or just resources for offensive linemen to get better. So that's film, online courses.
Are you editing their film for it?
Editing their film, evaluating their film too.
Okay.
And it's also a network full of offensive linemen. I know 2 offensive linemen that got drafted in the first round. So those are people that are part of my network. So what if you join our network, you also have at least an opportunity to hear from them, or just maybe even have access to them. Ask them questions.
Do you do in-person training too?
Do in-person training as well. The online presence is going to be the most important, because a part of the network is also how to train athletes properly.
Okay.
That's something that I did. That was my side hustle when I was working for my dad after COVID. And that was one of the most fun things I did. Taking kids from Independence or North Hill Middle School and then going out and training them. When everybody else was shut down, I was still training them.
Okay. And
it was just the best experience. You become a mentor to them, and I text them to this day. Just all those kids and all the schools that they're at, whether it be D1, D2, D3, NIA, or they're just chilling on the couch. You build a network, and then you build a community there too.
So you have Adams Athletics, you have Athletic Money U, and you have the OL network. Which one do you consider primary, and which one do you consider side hustles?
Adams Athletics is primary.
Okay.
Our goal for Adams Athletics is to be somehow affiliated or a part of the 2028 United States Olympics in Los Angeles. We have that. We have the credibility. We've had people buy from us like Conor McGregor, Daniel Cormier, and these are prominent players in mixed martial arts. And we're a wrestling company. That's the coolest part.
Count it.
Count it.
Count it.
Give me that. You feel me?
Okay, cool. And so then Athletic Money U and the OL network is your side hustle.
They're my side hustles.
I love that. I love that. I'm going to ask you, how would you define a side hustler?
I would define a side hustler as someone just trying to find another way
Mhm.
to reach their goals. A lot of people have side hustles that they don't even realize. And I think it could be a hobby too. But you want to put a lot of effort into something that can fulfill you. So I think that's what a side hustler is.
In the spirit of this being the diary of a side hustler, we do have an actual diary, which you have already written in. And as a diary is sacred, I would love for you to read a piece of what you've written. You don't have to read the whole thing, but I would love for you to read a piece of what you wrote, if that's okay.
Absolutely. I would love to.
And do the diary. And then you also had a prompt. So I'm going to ask you to read what your prompt was.
Sure. My prompt was write about a time everything changed in the blink of an eye.
Okay. You don't have to read as word for word, but can you share a little bit about what you wrote? You can read a line or you can summarize. It's completely up to you.
Sure. Can I read word for word?
Sure.
Everything changed in March 2020 when COVID ended many football careers. It started the journey of a true side hustler. It started a new identity of someone who confined in one way of living from the previous decade. That identity was being a football player. I turned physical mastery to mental mastery, artistic mastery, and self mastery. Finding a new identity due to the unforeseen circumstances, especially that was totally out of my control, was the best thing to happen to me because it forced me to change to the person God destined me to be. To impact the world by understanding that the identity of people like me don't lie within their athletic ability, but their ability to identify to a higher power and apply that belief in everything that they do. At that point, your identity is far from something physical, intangible, or measurable. Your identity allows you to impact all of the things you do in such a positive way that it's good for not only you, but for the entire world.